Up front, a local product from Augsburg, a Division III school here in Minneapolis, Devin George, along with Shaquille O'Neal and Karl Malone. And Malone will have the task of going up against Kevin Garnett after doing such an excellent job against Tim Duncan in the series against San Antonio. Sam Cassell and defensive specialist Quentin Hassel, who will be guarding Kobe Bryant in the backcourt. Latrell Sprewell, Irvin Johnson, and Kevin Garnett on the front line. And the officials, Bob Delaney, Greg Willard, and Joe Crawford is back after less than 3 weeks after suffering that foot injury in the Miami-New Orleans series.
Miami at New Orleans, he tore his plantar fasciitis. It's the first game back for Joe Crawford tonight.
Always love game ones because you're not sure how teams are going to match up. You're not sure of the defenses. You're not sure what you want to do offensively. It's a nice feeling out process to see where teams are going to attack one another.
Well, this crowd is ready, better than 19,000, and they're on their feet for the opening tip. Garnett and O'Neal controlled by Sam Cassell of the T-Wolves. He is picked up by Gary Payton. Sam Cassell has been playing hurt, bad back, bad hip, but he has been hanging in, had a strong game the other night despite the injuries. Sprewell using the pick. Rebounded by O'Neal. And Payton taken by Cassell. Cassell got picked off by O'Neal. Here is Malone. Garnett able to handle. Sprewell, played by George. Now Cassell. Yes. Sam Cassell, as we will see during the course of the game, will be wired up for electronic stimulation for that bad back, and a pushing foul is called on Hassel.
Well, we saw what Minnesota's idea was. It just takes them a few more passes to get around to it, but eventually it winds up with a high pick and roll. Cassell involving Shaquille O'Neal's man. That's the idea, to get Shaq to see if he will step up and help on those pick and roll situations.
Payton, he hesitated and drew the foul. Foul called on Sam Cassell.
Both of these point guards love to operate down on that baseline. We saw so many years, Gary Payton in Seattle. He loves this side of the floor. A lot more screen roll we've seen from the Lakers since game 2 of their series. And the shot that you don't want to foul a guy on is that little fading jump shot. Remember, these two guys were teammates last year in Milwaukee. They're good friends. They know each other well, but they love to compete against one another.
Yes, Gary Payton, after spending 12.5 years with the Sonics, traded to the Bucks. Last season in the deal involving Ray Allen, Flip Murray, Payton and Desmond Mason going to the Bucks. What a bounce back by Gary Payton after he had his difficulties in games 1 and 2 against Tony Parker of the Spurs. Sprewell met by the double. Sprewell had it knocked away. Shot clock is down to 7. It's a rare shot attempt for Irvin Johnson.
And he gets it up over the outstretched arms of Shaquille O'Neal. But one of the very few times you see Los Angeles as aggressive defensively, trapping the pick and roll.
And Kobe's really going to be roaming to be the guy to come over and help. So he's going to be the guy helping from the weak side.
Bryant, nice ball movement, sets it up for Payton. Not able to hit the 3. O'Neal, it counts, and the foul.
Well, you just see the overwhelming power of Shaquille O'Neal. He gets the rebound. Irvin Johnson is trying to foul him, so he cannot get the ball up at the basket. But watch the power of Shaq as he goes up. These are the kind of baskets that you want to take away from Shaq. Actually pulls him by the jersey, pulling him away. He gets a nice little touch, and you know, early free throw shooting by Shaquille, always a factor in a game when he might shoot a lot of free throws. Does he get in an early rhythm or start missing early?
And Shaq only 38% at the line in the postseason. We were talking earlier about the possibility of putting fouls on Shaquille O'Neal. Foul is called on Devin George. Go to a hack-a-shack. And Flip said, hey, we might do that early.
Well, whereas in the last round, we had the two worst teams in the NBA from the foul line, San Antonio and the Lakers. Here we have the two extremes. 28th in the league, the Lakers, and then 5th best in the league in Minnesota.
Oh, they swarm all over Garnett, and they were able to strip.
Again, you just keep your eye on Kobe. He's going to be the guy coming over. He's actually the guy that came all the way from the weak side and knocked that ball loose.
Bryant pulls it back out. Shot clock down to 6. Good job by Hassel. Has those long arms. Here is Bryant. Rebounded by Sprewell. And Fred Hassel did a nice defensive job on Kobe Bryant. Cassell not able to hit from downtown. Payton taking all the way.
That's a little freedom that Phil has given Gary over the last few games. That's really a 1-on-3 fast break that he took that he wouldn't have taken maybe early in the playoffs.
3 minutes gone by. The game is tied at 4. Again, you see the double on Garnett. So Johnson takes the shot. Lakers did not mind that at all. Here's Payton. And this time pulls it back and finds O'Neal, who is fouled again by Johnson.
Well, they'll take that opportunity every chance they get. The Lakers average just over 11 points per game on fast breaks for the season, but if they can get Shaq down in the paint, in the middle with the defender on his back, the ball must go to him every time. And then you see the quick foul. They have 24 fouls to give up from the 4 guys who will wind up playing Shaquille O'Neal tonight.
The one risk you run, though, when you start taking early fouls, you get in the penalty early. And this is what you're going to see tonight, Mike. You talked about this in your open. These are the 4 guys, the 24 fouls that you're going to have against Shaq. And when we talked to Flip Saunders before the game, he said, interestingly enough, Mark Madsen probably did the best job on Shaq with his quickness, circling him, getting into his body, even though he's the smallest. And he knows Shaq so well because he was on the second unit that played against Shaq every day in practice when he was on the Lakers.
And Doug, a Michael Olowokandi sighting. He had not played the last 4 games of the series against Sacramento, but Olowokandi, who has come back from arthroscopic surgery on both knees after he signed as a free agent from the LA Clippers, is making his first appearance in a long time. Karl Malone called on the foul.
There are some bright stories through free agency, such as Lamar Odom in Miami working out well. This would have to be, to me, one of the disappointing free agent signings. The money they invested in Olowokandi, yes, he did have some knee problems, but still, they were counting on this man to provide a lot for them in the center position.
Playing with zero confidence after the series against Sacramento.
Sprewell passed on the 3. Here is Garnett. To travel, and we get the call. The baseline official, Greg Willard, calling steps.
One of the things when you play against the Lakers, if you have a couple guys on the floor that can't score and you're playing 3-on-5 offensively, you're going to have trouble to score. And that's exactly what's happened here with Minnesota to start. Kobe is just swarming around, and so Shaq, helping off their people. They don't have any regard for their offense.
Olowokandi now to take advantage of the mismatch. He is being played by Bryant. Kobe gets it down. Malone ejected by Garnett.
What a great save by Kevin Garnett. That looked like a sure 2 for Karl Malone. He's out in front of the field. He thinks he's got it in the basket for a layup. Instead, from behind, Kevin Garnett saves the 2 points.
Those are those kind of energy, hustle, and tangible plays that the MVP brings, and it brings this crowd into the game.
Lakers with a 6-4 lead. O'Neal over Olowokandi. Garnett with a good catch to keep it alive. Clinton Hassel has tied it at 6.
Those were the shots that he made against Sacramento in the first 3 games of the series. He went very cold at the end of that series. They went to Zerbiak, but he's going to have to make the open shot.
Here's Malone, rejected by Olowokandi. Cassell, he was looking for a 3-on-2, but the Lakers got back. Sprewell for Olowokandi, and he lost it. Malone goes right at Sprewell. Sprewell trying to draw the charge.
And Karl Malone knew that Sprewell would put his body in front of him, so he pulled up, wound up short-arming the layup.
Cassell, Olowokandi on the follow.
It's very important for Michael Olowokandi to have some early success. They're going to need him, and he was playing with no confidence. If he could get a couple early baskets, we've seen a shot block. He needs this crowd's support.
O'Neal is forced to give it back. Payton. Malone.
There's a guy who can use some confidence himself in his jump shots. Shooting it so well against Houston. Jumper kind of abandoning him in the San Antonio series. Once again, Malone finding that mid-range jumper.
Took 15 shots a game in the Houston series, only 8 against the Spurs.
Latrell Sprewell giving the T-Wolves a 2-point lead. Latrell Sprewell has spent 6 years with Golden State, 5 with the Knicks, acquired by the Timberwolves in that 4-team trade involving Keith Van Horn. Just under 6 minutes remaining in this first quarter. Shaquille O'Neal. Here is Garnett. Yes. And that is his first field goal. Timberwolves for the 12-8 lead. Right, able to split through. That's the best look he's had.
Well, Garnett jumped out, and Kobe does a great job of pushing that ball through the double, and when he does, he's got a wide open lane to the basket.
Sprewell on a quick release.
If you haven't noticed yet, this is a jump-shooting Minnesota team. That's why they are 26th in the league in free throw attempts. They take about 21 per game. This is a team that rather pull up, shoot a jumper, as opposed to taking it to the basket, making the defense move their feet.
Kobe Bryant stepped out of bounds, stepped down the baseline, so the ball back to Minnesota. Timeout is taken by the Lakers.
So Sprewell coming off the baseline action, doesn't hesitate at all. He's got enough space. He winds up hitting the jumper. And then Kevin Garnett, again, more of a jump shooter than a guy who takes it to the basket, but a good one at that.
NikeBasketball.com. Just under 5 remaining in this opening quarter. T-Wolves have a 12-10 lead, and guys, we have double-barreled coverage on the sidelines. Let's start with Craig Sager.
Well, Phil Jackson continued his theme of sending messages to his team through film clips by splicing scenes of the movie Shrek into scouting tapes of the Timberwolves. Shaq, an easy comparison to Shrek, the big galoot, misunderstood by many, feared by all, and dominant at the end. And a not-so-subtle reference to Peyton as a donkey, just tagging along, running his mouth. I'm not sure it's been a fairy tale season for the Lakers, but that's the latest. Cheryl?
Well, Craig, because of Sam Cassell's sore back and sore hip, he said the matchup against Gary Payton tonight would be a true challenge. He said Gary's the type of player, once he senses that he has an edge, he tries to take advantage of it. He said he's not going to back down, but neither am I. He says it won't be a dirty battle, but two guys respecting one another. Marv?
All right, thanks, Cheryl. And Sam Cassell able to knock it down to give the T-Wolves a 14-10 lead.
Minnesota, one of the better first quarter teams in the league. They depend so much on their offense, shooting the ball well, getting off to a good start. They're 7 of 14, shooting 50%.
And that was a fear of Phil Jackson. He mentioned that to us earlier, that a concern as Payton comes right back to cut it to a 2-point game.
Low left-hand box. Cassell operates so well from down there. Gary Payton for years in Seattle. That's where he initiated their offense from.
Here is Hassel. What a pickup this guy's been. Originally a second-round draft selection of the Chicago Bulls. Spent 2 years with Chicago. Started 53 games last season. Waived and then signed by the Wolves.
Well, Flip Saunders is good friends with Jerry Krause. Jerry called him and said, you need to take a look at this guy. Malone with a strong drive. He said, I think he can help you defensively. He's an underrated shooter. Had a very good rookie year at Chicago, but they were so bad, he and Hoiberg sort of got lost in the mix there. Both of them have been very good here.
I remember when Tim Floyd left Chicago, one of the things he said was he really thought Hassel had a chance to be an outstanding player in this league. He was very high on him.
Shot clock at 5. Olowokandi. Well, Michael Olowokandi playing for the first time in the last 5 games has been a factor. Irvin Johnson picked up 2 fouls. Olowokandi has come on, a couple of buckets, 2 rebounds, and a block shot.
You got to make Shaq defend. You can't let him just stand back in the lane.
O'Neal going hard at Olowokandi, and he's called for the traveling violation.
Remember now, Michael Olowokandi played against Shaq a lot. When he was with the Clippers, Shaq with the Lakers had a little success against him, but Shaq also had a night where he hit him with 50 points.
Michael Olowokandi, the overall #1 pick in the '98 draft by the Los Angeles Clippers. Timeout is called. We'll be back to Minneapolis in a moment.
Either they don't know.
For 10 here early in the quarter, they lead by 4, and the confidence of big men can be so fragile, and yet they're so necessary to your attack. Michael Olowokandi, that's that little patented jump hook that he loves over his left shoulder. Does a nice job pushing Shaq away from the basket, making him catch the ball out of the lane, and they're going to need him. Against Sacramento, their big men were out on the floor. He was lost. Shaq is going to be around the basket. If he can keep his body in front of Shaq in the basket, make him shoot shots, he can help his team. Shaq has not scored since he's been in the floor, which has been 6 minutes.
Michael Olowokandi signed as a free agent with Minnesota to replace Rasho Nesterovic as the starting center when Nesterovic signed on with San Antonio. This after he spent 5 years as a member of the LA Clippers. Eric Fisher, the hero of Game 5 of the series against the Spurs, has come on for the first time. Fisher in the backcourt now with Payton. Here's Casellas. Payton got screened. Olowokandi again. Minnesota leads by 6.
Suddenly it makes Kevin McHale look pretty good in his decisions way back in the offseason when he decided to make some changes.
So, Song, what have you done for me lately?
Well, you know, people talk about all the changes by the San Antonio Spurs. Here's Payton able to knock down a 3. And they revamped their lineup. They had 6 new players and still had a terrific season. But how about the T-Wolves when you look back at the starting lineup from a year ago? You look back at this entire roster. Cassell extends to a 22-17 lead.
Well, one thing Minnesota has always been able to do the last 3 to 4 seasons is make shots from the outside. It's been their offensive execution and their ability to shoot the basketball that has helped them win this number of games.
And they usually don't turn the ball over.
O'Neal getting down deep. And the crowd looking for an offensive foul on Shaq.
One of the current concerns for Minnesota, and you talked about it a while ago, Mike, is getting to the free throw line. They're off to a great start shooting the ball. They still have not attempted a free throw. They've got to get to that free throw line. They will not continue to shoot this well.
Sprewell for 3.
This is what missed shots do. They allow teams to come down in transition and explore early to see if they can get an easy basket. And plus, it gives them more time on the 24-second clock to run their offense.
Now Hassel in the first round guarded Carmelo Anthony and did a nice job. He posed one kind of challenge. Last round, he played Stojakovic, who was a catch-and-shoot guy. Kobe, he's playing the best one-on-one player in the league. This is his biggest challenge, to keep Kobe Bryant in front of him and not let him break him down, make him shoot jump shots.
It's kind of the philosophy of the Minnesota defense when they play. Make teams beat us over the top.
And that is a reach-in foul on Olowokandi.
Doug, you talked about this young man Hassel and his ability to defend the players in this league, but this is a big, big change for Minnesota from a year ago. Kobe Bryant, etc.
Well, game 1 last year, the guy who had the primary assignment was Wally Szczerbiak. Kobe got off to a great start. They brought in Anthony Peeler. Kobe had 39 in the game. They stole away the home court. Szczerbiak now will be the 4th defender that we'll see Kobe. It'll be Hassel, then it'll be Hoiberg, and then Sprewell before you see Zerbiak. This is a much better defensive Minnesota team than last year.
And here comes Wally Zerbiak, who Wednesday night in Game 7. Doug, you were here to broadcast the game. You saw it from courtside. He had 10 points in the second quarter, hitting 4 for 7, and was a huge factor in the victory over Sacramento.
When he got his confidence was when they got beat by 17 in Game 6. He had a very good second half. He had 14 points off the bench, and Flip Saunders said he thought that would carry over to Game 7. He got in a rhythm, and it did. And he gave them 10 second quarter points that swung the game in favor of Minnesota and gave them that lead early.
How about Shaq? 4 of 5 at the line. Fred Hoiberg has come on for Sam Cassell. Cassell 6 points, 4 assists. Zerbiak trying to get right to it. Rebounded by O'Neal with a half-minute left in this first quarter. Minnesota up by 1. Now Sprewell is defending on Bryant. Pretty pass. Nice give and go. Sprewell not able to get back as Bryant cut for the hoop.
If you think that was an easy layup, you're wrong. That was not an easy layup. Nice bounce pass, give and go, but still, he had to convert a very, very difficult shot.
So the Lakers have taken a 1-point lead. T-Wolves holding for a final shot of the quarter. Sprewell rebounded by Oliver Candy. 4 seconds remaining in the first. Here comes Payton. Can he get it away? He does. The story in this opening quarter, an unlikely one. Michael Olowokandi, who sat out the last 4 games against the Kings, off the bench to lead the way. 4 of 5, 8 points. Minnesota by 1 as we head to the second. Final series, a look at downtown Minneapolis. This is a city that goes back to the old National Basketball League in 1946, which led to the NBA, and 6 Minneapolis Laker championship teams. Those were the Lakers of George Mikan and Vern Mickelson, Jim Pollard, Slater Martin, Pep Saul, Whitey Skoog. Sorry, you watch those guys play.
I have a lot of their cards, I think, bubblegum cards.
Head coach John Kudla, Bud Grant, who went on to be the very successful head coach of the Minnesota Vikings, was a player for the old Minneapolis Lakers. Second quarter is underway. Olowokandi able to swing it out. Here comes Zerbiak putting the move on Rush, who just checked in. Will not count. The basket will not count. It's an offensive foul.
Well, Phil Jackson has gone to his bench. 4 of the guys for the Lakers played the entire first quarter, their big 4. And Derek Fisher, one of the best in the league, stepping in and taking the offensive foul. But look for Kobe Bryant now to take over the offense. He only took 3 shots in the first quarter with Shaq down now with the rest. Look for him to be the offensive man.
Here is Malone. That's a tough angle shot for Karl Malone. His 3rd field goal. He's 3 of 7. He has 6 points. The Lakers now lead by 1.
Doug, you mentioned last round against San Antonio, only 8 field goal attempts per game. For the entire playoffs, just over 11. Already tonight, 8. Okay, and there's the steal by Fisher.
That was a weak pass thrown by Sprewell that was picked off, leading to the foul on Hoiberg.
Marv, you mentioned a while ago about the change in rosters. Well, look at this. From last season, what the starting lineup was for Minnesota on the left. Peeler, Hudson, Nestorvich, and now this year's starting lineup. In fact, only 3 players remain on this roster right now for Minnesota that were here for last year's playoffs. Only 3.
And Mike, you know, as an executive, you get together in the summer and you go, what do we have to do to advance? You have to be able to beat the Lakers. We see Kobe with the jumper. The Lakers and the Spurs with the 2 heavyweights. They added Olowokandi, Urban Johnson, Oliver Miller, and then Hassel and Hoiberg defensively to match up against Kobe and Shaq. But like what McHale did in Boston there with his teams, we see Garnett once again, when they went out to sign Dennis Johnson to be able to stop Andrew Toney to get through the East.
No question. Executives think differently than coaches. Coaches worry about each game, each night. Executives are thinking down the road, 2nd, 3rd round, and finals.
Kareem Rush for the Lakers, who now lead at 27-24, and this crowd getting a bit anxious. See Kevin Garnett as He did on Wednesday night, Game 7, playing a little point guard, a bad pass. Back comes Bryant. Garnett very quiet here tonight, 1 for 3, only 2 points. Malone not able to handle it. Both clubs on the sloppy side here in the second quarter. Garnett lost it. Good play by Malone, reaching in to knock it away. Last touch by Garnett.
That's a tired play. And you're going to see Sprewell and Garnett get a rest. The problem you have now for Flip when you go to your bench, who's going to score? You know, the Lakers have Kobe out there, Malone. They can find some scoring. Who will score for Minnesota now as they give Garnett a much-needed rest?
T-Wolves have turned it over 4 times the last 5 possessions. Phil Jackson has Slava Medvedenko up front with Karl Malone and Kobe Bryant, Derek Fisher, Kareem Rush in the backcourt. A rainbow offered up by Medvedenko. And here's Cassell, who just checked back in. Mark Manson, the one-time Laker, has come out. Cassell trying to give it back, and a foul. Foul against the Lakers.
Question is, Marv, was it on the pass or was it a shot? And you can see right now with Shaq out of the game, Minnesota should go to the rim. This is when you want to get to the free throw line. There is no shot blocking back there. Little kind play here, I think, by the officials. It looked like he was going to try to drop that ball off, but Cassell will shoot 2.
Foul on Medvedenko. A reminder tomorrow night on ESPN. It's the Pistons and the Pacers in Game 1 of the Eastern Conference Finals. It's Carlisle's team. Indiana Pacers going up against his former team, Larry Brown. And Monday night on ESPN, Game 2 between the Pistons and the Pacers, covered starting 8 o'clock Eastern time.
Look, I can tell you, you said it looked like a pass where the entire Lakers staff was yelling down there. That was a pass off. That was no shot attempt.
Well, that's the first 2 free throws attempted by Minnesota here in the game.
And Phil Jackson giving the quick hook to Slava Medvedenko. Brian Cook, who has played very little in the postseason, a rookie from Illinois, has come on. Bryant with a beautiful move. Kobe to the reverse. So he has 6 points, and the Lakers now lead by 3. Matson sets the pick. Hoiberg, they respect his long-distance shooting. Oliver Candy called for the travel.
Watch the matchups now with Fisher in the game. He's playing Zerbiak right now, and they got Kobe, their best defender, on Cassell. So they're going to try to take away his screen roll. Fisher now will roam defensively, but that's the versatility of Kobe Bryant. This is an all-league defender. People forget how well he plays defense.
Don't try to set the pick. Bryant rebounded by Zerbiak. Zerbiak wearing that protective brace after suffering the 3 broken bones in his lower back earlier in the playoffs. Another turnover by the T-Wolves. 2-on-1 developing. Bryant spinning. Good play by Hoiberg to break it up. Oliver Candy called for a kick ball. So the ball back to the Lakers, but first a timeout.
You know, I have to apologize because before I said Kobe went to the basket and made what I thought was a difficult layup. I apologize. That was an easy one. Look at this one. Backwards, up over his head, lay it up on the rim, and get the beautiful roll. This is a difficult layup.
What he wants to do is get involved as many screen rolls as you can, especially with Sam Cassell, so he can come off and shoot the ball. Little step-up screen by Kevin Garnett in the middle of the floor. This time it's Garnett again, turning the corner. Cassell misses the shot, but Shaq comes over. There's Oliver Candy for the offensive rebound. This time it's a sideline screen, and Shaq cannot quite get out there soon enough. So Sam Cassell, we've seen it from the middle, from the side, and he wants to come off and shoot the ball, and the Lakers would like for him to have to pass the basketball.
So you can change who sets the screen, or you can change the angles of the screen to make the defense have to make different decisions.
Rick Fox, who has played very little in the playoffs, has checked in for the first time. Gary Trent has come on for the first time. For the T-Wolves, Shaquille O'Neal is back, being guarded by former teammate Mark Manson. Rebounded by Sprewell.
And the reason Fox is in the game, Phil Jackson said he wants him to play against Wally Zerbiak. He wants him to use his body and his strength and try to frustrate him.
Cassell, look out. Oh, Medvedenko was spun into his teammate, Fox.
Shaq just moved his arm and like 4 bodies flew out of there.
So Slava's back on the floor after being lifted. Foul is called on Matson.
You get caught in this scrum inside with Shaq, and I mean, those are big men in there, and they're flying around like pinballs. And Shaq is just didn't even jump and didn't move with all that contact. That's how powerful he is.
Shaq saying, I had nothing to do with that. Fisher, oh, for O'Neal.
When that ball goes in the corner in the triangle, you cannot let Shaq roll to the basket. That's exactly what he wants to do, and he has a great read with Fisher on that play.
10 points for Shaquille O'Neal. Beautiful lob. Tossed by Fisher. Lakers 31. T-Wolves 26. Serbiak. That was a three-point attack. And back come the Lakers. Phil Jackson using a number of different combinations here in the first half. Good play by Matson. They're going to poke it away. Serbiak. Met by Fox. Serbiak. Yes!
Minnesota must get in a transition game. In a half-court game, the Lakers will slow them down. Early offense, quick screen rolls, jump shots, but again, they've got to drive and get to that free throw line.
Lakers up by 3. Rush rebounded by Serbiak. And that is a bombing violation as he tried to cut by Rush. He had nowhere to go.
Well, the idea was good. The problem was trying to take the ball, lift it between the two purple jerseys, and then continue on in transition. Definitely a carry.
All right, let's check in with Cheryl Miller. Cheryl?
Thanks a lot, Marvin. That's exactly what Flip Saunders did not want to see. Another turnover in this first half out of the last time out. He said, come on, guys, it's easy basketball. Pass and shoot. Stop making things so difficult.
Well, 9 turnovers. Although the Lakers have not been able to take advantage. They've scored only 2 points on the 9 turnovers, but that's a bad sign for Minnesota. Nice ball movement by the Lakers, and Medvedenko with his first field goal.
That's a different type of shot than he took the first time, and that's when Phil Jackson yanked him, because he took a hurried, quick shot, forced it. That one he stepped into, it was a good shot.
Kevin Garnett just 1 of 4 from the field. Now Doug comes off that 46-minute performance the other night. I'm wondering if that has any effect here at the start. Medvedenko, not a good shot.
Well, he's a guy that has a little bit of a green light as long as it's in the concept of the offense. Mike, you talked about that. He has the ability to put some points up on the board, but Phil wants it to be done in the flow of the game where you got a chance to get an offensive rebound. A little step-up screen set here on this baseline by Kevin Garnett. He finds Fisher on the blind side and gets a good lick in on him.
Feel at home. Everywhere. Introducing Infinity's new full-size SUV, the QX56. Surround
To invite you to shift the way you move through the world. Well, NASCAR returns to TNT this July. You can watch as the world's greatest drivers tear up the tracks in search of the Nextel Cup Championship. For more information, log on to NASCAR.com. Just under 6 remaining in this first half. Lakers lead 33-28. I touched on it a moment ago. As you look at Kevin Garnett, are we not seeing the same energy, the same emotion that we saw in Game 7 here on Wednesday?
No, Marvin. And you think about what this young man went through. It was the mayor proclaimed it Kevin Garnett Day. It was his 28th birthday. It was the anniversary of his best friend's death, Malik Sealy. They win Game 7, an elimination game, and they need this from him. They need him to settle down. But this is a guy who thrives on emotion. He had less than 48 hours to recover from that moment. And if he doesn't play like the MVP, they're not going to win.
Lakers lead by 3. O'Neal now working on Irvin Johnson, and that's a goaltend. The basket will count.
I want to go back to Kevin Garnett for 1 second, because not only does he play against a very tough defender in Karl Malone, smart, savvy, strong, tough. Then you've got an all-NBA player floating around as a freelance artist in Kobe Bryant, who's coming from him in all different directions, so keeping him off balance at all times.
Here's Garnett over Malone. So that's 2 in a row for Garnett. He now has 6 points in his 16 minutes, 5 minutes to play. First half, Lakers 35, T-Wolves 32. And a big first half for Shaquille O'Neal. Here's Shaq with the drop step. Shaq on the rebound, make it 14 points, 6 rebounds for O'Neal.
Pretty good job on the initial shot, but then you fall asleep for half a second. He chases down his rebound and gets an easy one.
When he shoots the ball, you got to try to get your body in him as best you can so you can't get that second effort. Again, Sam Cassell with that step-up screen. They're going to try to make Shaq come up and play every different angle. And Sam Cassell, one of the best mid-range shooters in the game.
10 points for Cassell. That gets the crowd going. The Laker lead is now 3. Deflected out. Last touch by Cassell. Here comes Michael Olowokandi for Irvin Johnson. Michael Olowokandi played 13 minutes. He's 4 of 5 from the field, 8 points and 5 rebounds. Bryant now defended by Sprewell. Here's Bryant drawing the foul. A series of head fakes by Kobe Bryant. That's the first on Sprewell.
Pretty good job of bailing out his team right here because he knows Sprewell is up close and aggressive, so he gets him in the air, loses him, and then smart enough to jump in, shoot it, draw the contact.
That's exactly the same kind of play he hurt his shoulder on early in the year. We were doing the game on TNT. He pump faked one of the Cleveland Cavaliers into the air. The guy came down on his shoulder, and that's when he first injured that shoulder this year. It was his right shoulder, his shooting shoulder. That time, Sprewell came down on his left shoulder. But one of the cardinal rules of basketball is don't foul a jump shooter, especially a great scorer like Kobe. You feed into throwing him up a big game.
8 points for Bryant. Lakers at 46% from the field. And the T-Wolves at 53%. Foul on Payton. That's his first.
During those free throw attempts by Kobe Bryant, Gary Payton went over near the Laker bench, and Brian Shaw stood up. He was giving advice to Gary Payton from behind the bench on how, I'm assuming, how he wanted to play against Cassell in these pick-and-roll situations. And Payton was a listener.
Crowd looking for a reach-in on the Lakers. Here's Cassell from downtown. Good hands by Olowokandi. Cassell for Olowokandi. Rejected by O'Neal.
Shaq taking a little personally that Olowokandi had gotten off to a good start, and the knock away by Cassell.
Beautiful play by Cassell. Garnett not able to handle that pass from Hoiberg.
Well, that's 10 turnovers now for Minnesota, 8 in this period. They've had a chance to do some damage here, and they're not getting any shots in the basket. Even though the Lakers aren't scoring against their turnovers, they're not getting any attempts at the basket.
Lakers call for time. 3:32 to go in the first half. Ernie Johnson doing his intensive research, getting ready for the Verizon Wireless halftime report. EJ, Kenny, Charles, and Magic coming along. Czar, that's not nice. Did you say that's Ernie with all his friends? That's terrible.
Surrounded.
That's terrible. The guys will be joining him shortly, and they'll have first half analysis from the T-Wolves and the Lakers, and a look ahead to the Eastern Conference final series. Lakers 39, Wolves 34, just under 3.5 to play in this first half. Here's Shaquille O'Neal with a nice drop step. The shot way off, rebounded by Hoiberg. Hoiberg running the floor. Garnett met on a switch by Bryant, and they'll regroup. Hoiberg now played by George. And Bryant steps in front of Garnett. Last touch by Kobe.
Now, Kobe is really alive on the defensive end. He's gotten a lot of deflections, and I mean, he was in a switch that time on Kevin Garnett, tried to deny him the basketball, but he's disrupting the Timberwolves. They're shooting 50%, but are trailing in the game because they have 10 turnovers and have attempted only 2 free throws.
Only 6 on the shot clock. Sprewell was tripped up. Foul on George.
Oftentimes, as coaches, you say that you play as you practice, and based on what Phil Jackson had told us, Kobe Bryant had a very, very good practice, a very spirited practice, very focused practice, and here we see him with high energy tonight. For Phil, that was a good sign because it's been a long time since Kobe had that type of a practice.
14th foul on the Lakers. Down to 2 on the shot clock. Cassell. And rebounded by Devin George. And the foul on Cassell. The next foul puts Minnesota in the penalty. Well, that's been the story of this first half. T-Wolves hanging in 8 of 9 at the line. And 10 turnovers, although it has not hurt them on the scoreboard.
Well, I always talk about closing quarters, and right now the Lakers are going to try to hit them with a spurt. They've got to get a double-digit lead here. This is where Minnesota's really got to dig in and hold firm.
Brent Hassel is checked back in, and the foul is called. Hassel reaching over, called for the half.
There's another example, Doug. You said about making jump shooters make shots as opposed to putting them on the line. And, interestingly, as a coach, you get a feel sometimes that there's certain games you have a great opportunity to go and grab. And this is one of those ones because of the 5-day layoff and the fact that Minnesota had such a tremendous finish to that last series. Phil Jackson said that this team has placed a special emphasis on getting tonight's game.
Yeah, and then what you do is, I mean, Minnesota's going to have to play 3 playoff games in 5 days. The emotion with that, a elimination game against Sacramento the other night. You get this game tonight, then you really put the pressure on them to have to try to win, to not go down 0-2. Sacramento had them down like that and let them off the mat in the last 4 minutes of game 2.
Oliver Candy. Now Hassel. Sprewell for 3. Latrell Sprewell, who has had a solid season in this his first year with the Timberwolves, has cut it to a 3-point Laker lead. Just under 2 minutes to play in this first half. Marv Albert, the Czar, Mike Fratello, Doug Collins. We're at the Target Center in Minneapolis. And a foul is called as Fisher trying to put the move along the baseline, and a push on Oliver Candy.
It's not easy to get yourself an open spot to camp and get the post pass, as you see Shaquille O'Neal calling for the ball. Oliver Candy praying that the 3 seconds is called.
And you've got to be willing to take punishment when you play against Shaq. I think he's the toughest player in the league to referee. What is excessive force and what is a normal move? This is such a big, powerful guy. When is he dislodging and getting an offensive foul, and when is he just making his normal progress to the basket?
Shaq is now 4 of 6 at the line. Here comes Oliver Miller from Michael Olowokandi. Olowokandi called for that foul a moment ago, a second. He is hearing it from this crowd. 8 points for Olowokandi. Oliver Miller signing with Minnesota when Olowokandi had to undergo a second arthroscopic surgery. Oliver back in the NBA for the first time since the 99-2000 season when he played 51 games for Phoenix, and the T-Wolves his 6th NBA team. Here is Hassel wide open. So the Laker lead is down to 2 with a minute and 20 to play in this first half.
You see Minnesota now go into their zone defense. They've got Oliver Miller with Garnett out there, so they're going to go a little bit of zone or combination.
And Karl Malone able to get inside, so he is now 4 of 8 after the slow start he's come on. Malone with 8 points.
And in that zone, you want to keep a body on Shaq all the time.
Here's Miller. O'Neal got a piece of it.
No finger rolls against Shaq.
Bryant went to the left hand to protect against Garnett. And that is a blocking foul charged to Derek Fisher.
Well, Derek Fisher will not endear himself to the officials if he lays there much longer on the floor. Good idea after the call. You may not agree with it. Get up, get off the floor. Don't embarrass the official.
Well, he does a great job normally of reading your move and stepping in. I think he's one of the best in the league at drawing that charge. Sam Cassell stepping to the line. This will be the 3rd and 4th free throw attempts of the half for Minnesota, and he's taken them all.
And Doug, by Oliver Miller coming in now, Minnesota has played all 4 of the people that they intend to use against Shaquille O'Neal. And of the 24 possible fouls, they've only used up 5. So that means they have 19 to go for the remainder of the game.
And Oliver Miller can take a foul. He did not want Olowokandi to get his 3rd.
Oliver Miller did not play at all in the series against Sacramento. Getting some time here. Here's Fisher from downtown. Derek Fisher hits the 3. Lakers with a 46-41 lead, and it's a 2-for-1 scenario now for the Lakers. Cassell using the pick. Hoiberg for 3. Yes. A catch and shoot by Fred Hoiberg. Final seconds of the half. T-Wolves are now within 2. Fisher gets it off. That would have been interesting if there were .4 remaining.
Yeah, San Antonio said, he had a wide open shot there. What was that you threw in against us?
That was too easy for Derek.
Yes.
Shaquille O'Neal, the high man for the Lakers. 15 points, 8 rebounds. Kobe Bryant with 9 points. Sam Cassell leading Minnesota with 12. Kevin Garnett, a low-key start, 3 of 6. 6 points. Let's go to Craig Sager.
Well, Gary, you started out great. 7 points by you in the first quarter. Then you guys forced 8 turnovers in the second quarter against a team that only turns the ball over 12 a game. But suddenly you're only up by 2. What's happened?
Well, we've been careless with the ball, too. We're turning the ball over. We're not making good decisions on the offensive end. I think we should be running them more. They played a lot. We done rested a lot. We should run a little bit more. But we got to settle down. And they're doing a good job after, they make us have a mistake. They come down, setting picks and hitting jump shots.
Some of those picks on the high pick and roll, what adjustments you guys have to make against that?
Well, we got to start stepping out. We got to make them rotate the ball, and then we got to get in rotation. They good at coming off picks and shooting jump shots, so we got to go out and be a little bit more aggressive.
Thanks, Gary. Back to you, Marv.
All right, thanks, Craig. 2-point lead for the Los Angeles Lakers here at halftime in Minneapolis. Coming up on the Verizon Wireless Halftime Report, Ernie, Kenny, Charles, and Magic. It's ahead after this. Lakers with a 2-point lead at the half. Marv Albert, Doug Collins, the Czar, Mike Fratello. And Doug, as we look back at this first half, let's check out the Gatorade X factor of the half.
Well, Marv, I've done a lot of Minnesota games. Did 4 of the last games in that series against Sacramento, and 2 things for them are turnovers and getting to the free throw line. When they struggle in those 2 areas, they struggle to win the basketball game. Tonight, they have 10 turnovers in the first half. They've only been to the free throw line 4 times. They made all 4. Interestingly enough, Sam Cassell has made all 4 of the free throws. He has 6 assists, no turnovers. The rest of the team, 3 assists and the 10 turnovers. So he's done a nice job taking care of the ball and getting to the line.
And Czar, tonight's Home Depot game summary.
Well, Minnesota has done some things well. They've shot the ball extremely well for the entire first half. They have rebounded the ball well against this Laker defense, and they're getting good productivity from their bench. For the Lakers, you have Shaq having a big half, 15 and 8, and that advantage, you said, from the foul line, 13-4 advantage. You see there, Shaq and Kobe combining for 24 points in the first half.
Sam Cassell leading the Timberwolves despite the back and hip problems. 12.6 assists for Sam. Kevin Garnett hit his last 2, but in his 21 minutes, just 3 of 6, 6 points.
They've got to do a better job of getting him the ball on the move a little bit where he can get his offense before Kobe can come over and disrupt the play. Kobe did a great job in the first half of roaming. I expect Kevin Garnett to have a better second half, and he's going to have to lead his team because he brings the energy and the passion for this team as Shaq is the dominant man for the Lakers.
All right, let's check in with Craig Sager.
Well, Phil Jackson wants to make 2 adjustments. Offensively, take the ball to the basket. He said we had 10 turnovers, only 4 points. Don't settle for outside shots. Take it right to the hole. And defensively, he said, guys, Michael Olowokandi, that's the same guy you saw in a Clippers uniform. He hasn't changed. He wants to jump hook to his right, box him out. Cheryl?
Like Quago Flip Saunders says, one thing, turnovers, need I say more? When we don't turn the ball over, we're a pretty decent team. He was happy with the contributions of Michael Olowokandi and Sam Cassell, who he said is only playing on half a back, half a leg. Second half, look for the Wolves to push the ball, guys.
All right, thank you, Cheryl. Bryant not able to hit. Cassell pops it down. Here is Sprewell going right at Bryant. Yes! And the foul.
This is what he did the last 2 games of the Sacramento series, actually the last 3. He got out in the open court. In Game 5, he had 34 points. He was like a one-man fast break. He loves to leak out on the break, and when he gets to the basket, he's a very good finisher. More importantly, another free throw opportunity, so that's a nice possession to start the half for the T-Wolves.
And the first lead for the Timberwolves since back in the first quarter. Karl Malone, Shaquille O'Neal, Devin George. Up front, Kobe Bryant and Gary Payton in the backcourt. Shot clock is down to 6. Malone, yes. Karl Malone has come on strong, 5 for 9. He has 10 points. He's hit his last 5 shots after missing his first 4.
Thinking back to that last fast break by Sprewell, all these great athletes on the floor as Cassell tees up the jumper, misses. All these great athletes. Lakers no fast break points. Minnesota 4 for the game.
Devin George coming up short on that 3-point attempt.
Not so sure that's the shot that Phil Jackson wants. He wants that ball inside. Sprewell with a great start.
And Phil Jackson is upset. Walks onto the court and calls for time. Latrell Sprewell with the conventional 3-point play, followed by the shot from beyond the 3-point line. 6 unanswered by Sprewell, and the Timberwolves back in front by 2. Airlines, over 2,800 non-stop daily flights to 60 destinations all across the country. And by Verizon Wireless, they never stop working for you. Latrell Sprewell has come out on fire at the start of this third quarter. He has scored 6 straight points for Minnesota.
Well, when he is at his best, they are running. You heard Cheryl's report. Flip Saunders wanted more running, 6 points in the open court. Marv, the last 3 games I talked about, you see the shooting against Sacramento, 34 points in Game 5 when they took that 3-2 advantage.
Minute and a half gone by in the third, so Phil Jackson taking that early timeout. Looked to be upset with Devin George. O'Neal with the rebound. The shot on the follow.
Doug, I know you already talked about the X factor tonight. I'm going to give you another X factor, okay? Devin George, where is he? Because he just can't have big games every so often, every 4th or 5th game. They need him to be somewhat productive.
Sprewell again from downtown.
Well, remember now, he's from this area, went to college. You wonder if it's a distraction that he's playing here. He could have a lot of family here, a lot of tickets. You never know the things that a guy goes through to get himself prepared for a game.
Devin George started slowly in the series against San Antonio, then came on strong. Game 5 had that career playoff high, 16 points. George getting it down low to O'Neal. Consecutive buckets by Shaq. Lakers up by 2, and Shaquille with 19 points, 12 rebounds. Garnett looking to put the move on Malone. Now here's the double team. Garnett has to give it up. Shot clock is down to 2. Sprewell is fouled.
I love that play by Sprewell. In the early rounds, Minnesota was falling in love with the 3-point shot. He pump faked. He could have shot the 3. He went right to the front of the rim, takes the hard foul, puts the pressure on the defense. A fearless play, and he's going to get to the line. And remember we talked to Flip before the game. He said, you know what, we want to keep our 3 attempts between 10 and 12. Early in that Sacramento series, they were taking 17 threes a game. That's out of character for this team.
That was vintage Latrell Sprewell. You're looking back at his days with Golden State, his earlier days with the Knicks. He was fouled by Shaq. First foul of the night on Shaquille O'Neal.
Did I ever have any vintage days, Mars?
I can't seem to recall any myself.
Just wondering.
I know your parents would disagree.
One of the things the Lakers have done the last couple possessions is they've gone inside to Shaq. He's got an offensive rebound score, a jump hook, and score. They want to play inside out and then shoot the basketball.
Rick Fox has come on for Devin George. Fox played a couple of minutes in the first half. Here is Bryant. Yes. A good-looking jumper by Kobe Bryant, who has 11, and the Lakers now lead 54-51.
It's such a fine line when you say a defender is taking a great offensive player out of the game, or is the offensive player forcing too many shots, or does he get himself going? That's the fine line. That's what stars have to deal with.
Hassel's missed shot handled by Fox. So Fox up front with O'Neal and Malone, Payton and Bryant at the guards. Kobe feeling it. Yes, that's 2 in a row from the right side, and the Lakers lead at 56-51, and Flip Saunders wants to talk it over.
So that's my point. If he would have missed those 2 shots, he's taking bad shots and forcing them. Instead, he makes them both. He's getting himself going.
Well, the thing you love, when Kobe makes a couple shots like this, Flip does the smart thing. Take the timeout, stop the run.
Latrell Sprewell started out this third quarter with 6 straight points for Minnesota. T-Wolves took a 2-point lead. Phil Jackson calling that early timeout, and since the timeout, led by Kobe Bryant, the Lakers have outscored the Wolves 8-1 and have taken a 5-point advantage.
And Phil Jackson hates to call timeout. He loves to be able to let his team play through things and figure it out. But tonight, we talked about it, Mike, it's such an important game. They want to win this game tonight. It's such an emphasis to break through tonight. And this guy, Karl Malone, to me, he's been the glue of this team. When he has been healthy, and the four guys that play together, they were 33-9 on the season. If he wins this matchup, Minnesota can't win.
Garnett was fouled, hacked by O'Neal. That's the second on Shaq. Kevin Garnett to the line for the first time tonight. Michael Olowokandi has checked back in.
There's the big free throw situation. In the Sacramento series, in the 4 wins, he attempted 40 free throws, and in 3 losses, only 10. He was a jump shooter, floated around. With the games that he attacked and was aggressive, Minnesota won the game. He was able to put his team to the line and get 3 points.
Garnett, a 79% free throw shooter, the most valuable player of the regular season, averaged 24 points. Tied with Peja Stojakovic behind the scoring leader, Tracy McGrady. 14 rebounds, leading the NBA, plus 5 assists per game for Garnett.
Talked about the matchup, Karl Malone against Garnett. Malone leading 10-8 as far as points go, and it's really unusual to see Karl Malone in a basketball game with 0 free throw attempts.
Bryant with his 3rd straight jumper.
How do you guard that? I mean, Shaq's got 19, Malone 10, 29. Now he has 15, 44 points for those 3. Of the Lakers, 58 points.
Here's Cassell off a beautiful move, not able to finish. Now Payton pushes it down. Payton took a shot after the attempt from Olowokandi, and his last touch by the Timberwolves.
Shaq with a little bump in the back of Garnett, just enough to knock him off balance. He could not corral that rebound. He actually had inside position.
This is game 1 of this best-of-7 Western Conference final. The foul called on Hassel. Game 2 here in Minneapolis. Sunday night, we'll have it for you on TNT, and then the scene will shift to Los Angeles. Games 3 and 4 at Staples. Payton met on a switch. Malone with the step. Karl Malone able to squeeze his way through the two big men.
Just because Malone hit a couple jumpers early in the game, Garnett on his closeout came a little too hard, went for the fake, opened up the driving lane.
Lakers by 7.
Danger time for Minnesota. They need a hoop.
Garnett, well, Kevin Garnett able to knock it down. It's 10 points for Garnett.
Minnesota cannot let the Lakers run out on them here. They're not a team that's going to come back from big deficits, even though they've done it in the playoffs. It's tough to play uphill against the Lakers.
Here's Fox. Garnett got a piece of it. And a reach-in is called on Fox. Rick Fox played only 2 minutes in the first half. He has not been getting the playing time in the postseason. He says he's never had this many DNPs in his career. Appeared in only 2 games against San Antonio for a total of 8 minutes. And apparently he will surpass that here tonight.
And that's because George is 0 for 2, not doing very much offensively.
Sam Cassell has been doing the job at the offensive end. He has 14 points.
Sam played a little cat and mouse behind that screen roll. He went one way, didn't like it, brought it back the other. Lakers didn't get out, and that's the shot he loves to shoot.
And this crowd very much back into it. T-Wolves within 3. Hassel digging in against Bryant. Now they double him. Shot clock to 5. Malone rejected by Garnett. Sprewell on the run. Cassell for 3. Rebounded by Payton. He has Malone ahead of the field, and he's fouled by Cassell.
That's a good foul. That's twice now Malone has leaked out on a Minnesota break. One time Garnett got back and blocked the shot. This time Cassell did the smart thing and take the foul. But Mike, one of the things you know is anytime there's a broken court play like this and you're running, your last big man down the floor has got to look over his shoulder, and if somebody stays down the floor, he's got to stay back.
Another key thing is 2 opportunities for Karl Malone to dunk the ball and avoid the misses on both fouls. He did not do it on either one. Here's Malone gathering in, thinking that he's got a layup. Instead, it's a hard foul by Cassell from behind, which saves the layup.
You know, it's interesting when you look at the playoffs going in for the Lakers, you realize Karl Malone, playoff-wise, had a better scoring average going into this playoffs than either Karl Malone or, Shaquille O'Neal or Kobe Bryant, over 26 a game. Had the only 50-point game ever in the playoffs by one of those guys, and had 22 free throw makes in a game. Mike, you were talking about his ability to get to the free throw line. Once made 22 free throws in a playoff game.
Lakers up by 4. That was last touched by the Lakers. Just under 5.5 to play here in this third quarter. Phil Jackson moving around here tonight in game 1. Not in his stationary position on the bench.
I think that shows you the importance of what he feels about this game.
Shot clock down to 3. Good play by Malone. And back comes Fisher.
I think this is the Lakers' best lineup when you slide Kobe down to the small forward and have Fisher and Payton on the floor with Malone and Shaq.
O'Neal with the drop step. A very strong performance for Shaquille O'Neal. 21 points, 13 rebounds, 4 assists.
Well, this lineup gives him perimeter shooting. It gives him scoring from more than just 3 or 4 positions on the floor. There's a little more balance out here.
You see Fisher guarding Hassel. He doesn't have to guard him, so Flip Saunders is going to come in with Wally Szczerbiak to give himself another offensive player so they can't hide Fisher.
Foul on Bryant. That is his second. Here comes Szczerbiak. And he'll replace Hassel.
Now what'll happen, Sprewell's going to have to play Kobe because they don't want Wally Szczerbiak to have to do that. So now, Sprewell's going to have to expend a lot of energy on the defensive end, but you need another scorer on the floor right now. That's why he's going to Wally.
13 points for Latrell Sprewell. Get an all-access look at the NBA playoffs. You can tune into the NBA TV playoff show Destination Final. That's every weeknight at 6 p.m. only on NBA TV. Strong third quarter for Latrell Sprewell. Lakers now lead it by 4. Sprewell with 9 of his 14 here in the third.
It all started with him getting to the basket early with that three-point play.
Now Payton being played by Serbiak. Fisher with the step. Rebound handled by Garnett. Sprewell. He's a straight shooter. That's been his story throughout his 12-year NBA career, and he is on a streak here in the third.
Doug, if you're going to slide underneath the screens, you've got to do a better job of cutting off the man.
Oh, Kobe Bryant able to score, and you heard the crowd, and Sam Cassell also felt should have been an offensive foul. Lakers lead 65-61. Kobe's hit his last 4 shots. Garnett. Wide open opportunity for Kevin Garnett.
Well, they switched to pick and roll, and Sprewell made a great pass over the top of Kobe, who was in the passing lane.
But if you're going to switch, that means you take the other guy's man, so somebody has to play Garnett.
Here's Bryant with the fake, and he is fouled by Serbiak. Serbiak came over to help out after Bryant got the step, called for the blocking foul. That's 2 on Wally.
Kobe takes on a gang of white jerseys here, and you see Serbiak moving in. That's where they call the block on Serbiak. Minnesota feels they had a clean steal.
Well, Wally had his hands up and he was moving. You're allowed to move as long as you're moving backwards and not moving into the player.
Bryant 3 of 4 at the line.
You get one more look. Sliding, moving the feet, his hands are up. If they're leaning forward a little bit and there's contact, perhaps that's the reason the official can give him the call rather than straight up.
And that's why you have to have stars. Because stars put the pressure on the officials to blow the whistle.
And the Lakers stars are doing it here tonight. 21 for O'Neal, 19 for Bryant. The outside official, Joe Crawford, calling the hold on Payton. Lakers are in the penalty. We mentioned earlier Joe Crawford making his return after the foot injury, coming back in less than 3 weeks. His one of his partners, Bob Delaney, saying to me earlier, he said, you know, Joe and I are the same age. This guy gets hurt. That's because I eat my vegetables.
Well, you know, you talk about how people love their jobs. Obviously, the players, us sitting here at this table, this man loves to officiate. His brother is a Major League Baseball umpire. His father was the great umpire. Officiating runs in his family.
Talking about his dad, Shag, his brother, Jerry. Coming up on 3 minutes to play in the third. The Laker lead is down to 2. Here is Payton. Rebounded by O'Neal, but a foul is called. Loose ball foul, and it's on Shaq. A pushing foul. That's his third. And the T-Wolves will go to the line.
We'll try and get a look to see if Shaquille O'Neal does in fact push from behind as he's going after the ball. From that particular angle, it's tough to tell. We'll take one more look. He only wipes out 2 guys perhaps to get the ball, not 1.
Well, if I'm Latrell Sprewell, I'm sprinting to the free throw line and making them put Olowokandi on the line. And Michael Olowokandi says, heck with that, I can knock the free throws down. But I'm telling you, the score, I used to sprint to that free throw line and make them put somebody else out there.
Well, Olowokandi, a 59% free throw shooter during the regular season. A timeout is taken. Lakers 67. T-Wolves 66. We'll be back to the Target Center in a moment. Hall of Famer Kevin McHale, member of 3 Celtic championship teams, native of Hibbing, Minnesota, star at the University of Minnesota. In fact, a teammate of Flip Saunders. Flip in his 8th year as head coach here in Minnesota. Spent 7 years as a coach in the CBA, winning 2 CBA titles. In fact, both Phil Jackson and Flip Saunders began their head coaching careers in the CBA, both having much success on that level. How about Michael Olowokandi? The game is tied at at 67. Just under 3 to play in the third. Derek Fisher for 3.
That guy hits big shots. He comes through. I don't have to tell you what he did against San Antonio, but he is such a confident player in the playoffs, and the players believe in him. They trust him.
A timeout is called to preserve the possession. Sam Cassell upset. He thought he was fouled. It's a 20-second timeout.
If you go back to that last play, Doug, Kobe Bryant on the pick and roll knew that Minnesota was going to plug that foul line area with the next defensive man away from the ball. That happened to be Derek Fisher's man. So as he came off, rather than look for shot, he immediately got the ball over to Fisher for the open jumper. And there you see Sam getting that right foot caught on Fisher's left foot. He stumbles, goes down, takes the 20-second timeout rather than get tied up.
And timeouts are going to be very vital because this is a Minnesota team, again, that played 48 hours ago. And Flip Saunders wants to have timeouts not only for strategic purposes late in the game, but also if he needs to rest a Kevin Garnett or a Spreewell or Cassell without taking them out of the game, to be able to take a timeout and get them some rest to finish the game.
Kareem Rush has checked back in for the Lakers. Garnett lost it. The pass behind him, not able to handle it. And Lakers take possession. They lead by 3, just under 2.5 remaining in the third. O'Neal being played now by Oliver Candy. Fisher from the other side, from downtown. That's his third 3 of the night.
Remember the series they swept San Antonio? I think he shot 15 for 27 from the three-point. He was an incredible shooting performance. Once again on target with his three-point shot.
That was on the way to the Lakers championship in 2001. In fact, that was an NBA record. He had 15 three-pointers in 4 games against the Spurs.
They have run the same play twice in a row. They just moved Fisher and Rush. They exchange spots. Here they come again, except they put Shaq in the pick and roll.
It is a three-point festival by the Lakers. Kareem Rush from beyond the three-point line.
Shooting will beat good defense. If you make the extra pass, you got to give up something. And right now, it's Rush and Fisher knocking down the shots.
Last touch by Fisher. 9-0 run by the Lakers. This game was tied at 67.
It was Kobe and Malone, Fisher jumper. Kobe and Malone, three-pointer by Kareem Rush, and then Kobe and Shaq right back to the next jumper for Fisher. So it's Kobe giving himself up, the other players making the shots.
Fred Hoiberg is back. Sam Cassell will get a rest. Oliver Candy, bad shot. That was a force.
Especially with the score. I mean, you need a basket there. They've just hit you with a little 9-point run after you've tied the game. You need a good possession.
As O'Neal setting the screen. Rush for 3. Spreewell able to reach for it around Bryant. Spreewell lost the handle. Trying to pass off the dribble, and the T-Wolves give it right back.
Now, 2 bad possessions here in the last minute and a half for Minnesota. Again, the Lakers three-point shooting with a little spurt, and Minnesota, 2 bad possessions.
Malone at the high post finds Bryant. Coming up on a half minute remaining in this third quarter. Serbiak. Job by Fisher. He made Serbiak change the shot.
I would say he shot a curveball that time.
Yes.
He was sitting right in line with him. That was a slider or a curveball.
Last possession here. Now, you know Kobe knows where his shooters are. So if they double team him, look for Rush or Fisher to knock the shot down or take the 3 at the end of the period.
Here is Fisher. Yes! Derek Fisher is on fire. Garnett from midcourt. The Lakers with a 78-67 lead. 11 unanswered by the Lakers.
You know, there was a foul to give for Minnesota that time, and Coach Saunders was up yelling at the team to take the foul, take the foul. They didn't do it. They gave up the jumper.
course, TNT and HD now available. Catch all the drama of the NBA in high definition. Now, this is a great look, but sometimes there are individuals on camera who are unusually affected by HD TV. Problems. Gar needs to work on his HD TV appearance. Fourth quarter is underway. I kind of like you distorted.
I like going to the amusement park, looking in those mirrors.
Here is Sprewell.
Barb, at the 3:01 mark of the third period, Olowokandi made 2 free throws to tie the game at 67-all, 11-0 run with the three-point shooting and the spot-up shooting of the Lakers. They took control of this game. Minnesota's got to fight back.
Derek Fisher, 8 of his 11 over the last 2.5 minutes. That included 2 threes. Good defense here on Bryant. Has to fire one from way downtown and nearly banked it home. Sprewell avoiding Medvedenko. Rebounded by Malone.
You can see Kevin Garnett. He's walking up the floor right now. Flip Saunders is not going to be able to rest him. They dug themselves that 11-point hole. And right now he is extremely fatigued, but I don't think he can get him out of the game.
This is the stretch right now where the offense for LA goes through Kobe. He'll create shots for himself or teammates. So it's a dangerous time because you tend to shoot all jumpers.
Well, for some guys, that's not a bad idea. As Kobe is able to go glass with that shot clock down to 1. The Lakers 80. The T-Wolves 69. Bryant 8 for 16. He has 21 points.
No point guard now in the game for Minnesota.
Foul on Medvedenko.
When Shaq sits down, the offense starts with Kobe Bryant. Sometimes they post him, other times they leave him on the perimeter. His job, create offense for his team. That time he created it for himself and his team, banking it off the glass.
He discourages great defense with incredible shots. Degree of difficulty, we've seen 3 in this game already.
Mark Matson is back for Michael Olowokandi. Sprewell for 3. Latrell Sprewell with 21 points.
One of the rare times that the Lakers actually double-teamed, went full rotation. Kobe was the guy who doubled. He couldn't get out on the last pass to Sprewell in time.
Well, Latrell is 3rd from downtown. Malone, yes. Karl Malone is now 7 of 12. He has 15 points.
Well, that rest really did him well. Remember, this is a guy who had first really big injury of his career with that knee this year, and that rest has really helped him since that San Antonio series.
Garnett. Beautiful fall away by Garnett, who has 14, and it's an 8-point game.
Lakers are coming after Garnett late. Once he puts it on the floor, they're coming from behind him with the next closest guard.
Here is Kareem Rush from downtown. Medvedenko missing on the tip, but able to get to it. And Fred Hoiberg saying, hey, I had a tie-up, but a timeout was called by Medvedenko.
You know, Kareem Rush, Phil Jackson trusts him in the 4th quarter. He played him a lot in the 4th quarter in the regular season. In that Houston series, when they were on the ropes in the 1 game at home, he hit 2 big threes to help give them a lead and help them win that game. Phil trusts him.
By idle thoughts. And that was last touch by Medvedenko, so it will be Minnesota ball. 3 minutes gone by in the 4th, and it's an 8-point game.
You know, I talked about how Phil does not like to call timeout. He called 2 timeouts in the 3rd quarter. They came out, went on an 8-1 run one time and 11-0, so a 19-1 scoring run after their 2 timeouts.
And they're down to a full and a 20. The ball back to the Lakers.
It was a beautiful play, though, that they had executed that time because they had Latrell Sprewell a wide-open 3-point look, and he elected to pass it up, tried to dump it down inside. The play drawn up by the coach was worked to perfection, except he didn't shoot it.
Shot clock down to 7. Madsen dealing with O'Neal. Will not count. The basket coming after the foul, so it is an out shooting situation. Here's Michael Olowokandi checking back in.
Take a look at Madsen's stance, how far he's leaning forward, trying to get the pressure on Shaquille O'Neal. Look at this angle. His feet are probably 3 feet, 4 feet behind him, trying to hold off Shaq.
Here's Fisher. Garnett got a piece of it. Garnett able to come up with a loose ball. Sprewell. Serbiak wide open. Yes. That's a 2. He had a foot on the line, and the Wolves are right back into it. They're within 6.
Now Kareem Rush dove in the backcourt for a steal and missed it, and when he did, Wally Serbiak wide open on that jump shot.
Off the handoff, Bryant nearly turns it over. He's met on a switch by Garnett. Fisher. And here comes Sprewell. Rush is back. Sprewell is stopped by Rush, finds Garnett. And Fisher able to get his hands on the ball, and he finds Bryant. Good play by Derek Fisher.
Again, the 3rd time in this game where Minnesota has run a break, not converted, and no one stayed back. Twice Malone got fouled. That time Kobe, an easy layup. You thwart the run, you miss a layup. Instead of it being a 4-point game, it's 8.
4-point swing in the game just on the one play.
Hoiberg for 3. Fred Hoiberg among the leaders in 3-point shooting during the regular season has cut it to 5.
That play was right in front of the Laker bench, and Rick Fox and Horace Grant stood up to distract Hoiberg. He did not even see them.
O'Neal getting down deep on Olowokandi and is fouled.
That double team is coming from the top side. Olowokandi cannot allow Shaq to spin away from him. He's got to turn him back to his help, but Shaq then turns away and nobody's there to defend that shot.
Well, the players are smart enough to know where the double team is coming from. We've seen Garnett turn away from 4 or 5 double teams tonight. That time Shaq turned away before the next man could get to him. And, you know, the key guy, as you mentioned, being Karl Malone, has been reinserted back in the game because I think Phil Jackson felt that they had just become they weren't the same cohesive unit. Let me put it that way.
He's their anchor, really on both ends of the floor.
3rd foul on Olowokandi. Devin George has checked back in, as has Gary Payton. O'Neal. Kept alive by Malone. And once again, they feed it down low, and Shaq serves up a facial on Olowokandi.
I would think Michael Olowokandi has time to get back in front of Shaq. When they throw it back out and repost again, rather than stand behind him so deep, you got to take a chance and make them have to throw a good lob every once in a while.
Serbiak for 3. Once again, Wally Serbiak, an important player off the bench for the T-Wolves.
Well, that's why he's in the game. They have 5 guys on the floor that you have to play. Cassell's been sitting for a long time.
Just under 6 minutes remaining in the 4th. The Lakers by 4. Fisher with the step. And he took a bump. Foul is called on Hoiberg. Timeout taken. Lakers 86 and the Timberwolves 82 in this game number 1 of this Western Conference final series.
You let Shaquille O'Neal catch the ball inside the painted area. He's virtually unstoppable. On the other hand, Wally Serbiak has the hot hand. 3 for 6 from the floor. 7 points for Wally. Minnesota got the wide open 3-point look from Hoiberg, and how the whole thing took place. On the initial cut down the lane by Minnesota, 2 Laker defenders wind up going after the man who makes the cut. Well, as a result of that, the big man, Olowokandi, sees that he can come over and backpick Kobe Bryant. So when the dive takes place, 2 Lakers go. There's the backpick on Bryant. Now, when we stop it right there, what happens is you have 1 man left to guard 2 offensive players. Who's going to take the man in the corner? Unfortunately, nobody can get there in time. The wide open look for Hoiberg.
Just under 6 minutes to play. in the fourth. Lakers lead by 4. They've led by as many as 11. O'Neal being guarded now by Olowokandi. Bryant is back in. Shot clock down to 1. George just did get it off, but rebounded by Olowokandi.
Why aren't the Lakers pressuring? No point guard in the game right now. They need to get up the floor and disrupt this Minnesota offense.
Good point, though, because Payton is the guy that has to get up after Hoiberg if he's bringing it up.
Serbiak off the mark, and Payton will walk it up. We talked about that earlier with Phil Jackson. He said, well, we made pressure if Hoiberg or Sprewell handle the ball, but with Garnett, perhaps a different story. It has not been Garnett. O'Neal is fouled by Olowokandi. With Cassell sitting down, it has been Hoiberg and Sprewell handling.
You know, back about 5 minutes ago, it looked very difficult for Minnesota to get themselves back in the game. They're going to have to leave the starters on the floor a lot of minutes, and could they make up the differential in a short period of time? One thing we discounted was the value of the three-point shot. When you start making threes, you can get back in a game quickly.
So Shaq to the line. He's 5 of 7, which is excellent shooting for Shaq. Tomorrow night on ESPN, it's the Pistons and the Pacers. That's game 1 of the Eastern Conference Finals. And then Monday night on ESPN, game 2 of that series. Coverage starting 8 o'clock Eastern time. How about Shaquille O'Neal? 7 of 9 from the foul line.
And Flip Saunders just shook his head. You know, I shoot 37% in the playoffs, 40 for 106 going into tonight. Makes the big ones tonight when they need it.
Lakers lead by 6. Garnett working hard on Malone. 16 for Kevin Garnett.
16 hard-earned points because Karl Malone is contesting every shot.
88-84 Lakers. They're on their feet here at the Target Center. Now Malone at the other end, played by Garnett. Bryant rubbing off Sprewell. Olowokandi on the rebound. Here comes Sprewell. 4 minutes to play in the fourth. Sprewell with the opening. Sprewell cuts it to a 2-point Laker lead.
When Minnesota runs those screen rolls on the move, when the Lakers are up and down, they don't get out to defend it.
They double up on O'Neal. Malone, beautifully done for Devin George. The cut by George, taking the pass from Malone.
How many times did we see him pounce out of the post like that when he was Utah? He was a great passer in there with the Jazz.
First field goal for George, and Sprewell lost it. So the ball back to the Lakers.
This is what you talked about. Malone so used to this in the Utah offense of watching for cutters, bouncing it on the floor, and George with his first field goal.
Lakers with a 4-point lead. George rebounded by O'Neal.
Shaq got away with 2 hands in the back on Olowokandi that time. He gave him just enough to push him out of the play.
And here is Malone. Karl Malone extends to a 92-86 lead as Jerry Buss, the principal owner of the LA Lakers, enjoying that shot by Karl Malone, who now has 17. Lakers by 6. We'll be right back.
The Lakers by 6, and they lead on the power and the dominance of this man, Shaq Diesel. Shaquille O'Neal, look at the power inside. He missed the shot, follows it back with a strong finish. Softens up your defense on the inside with the little jump hook. This is the power move. He came to the middle, a powerful dunk over Michael Olowokandi, and we said he was going to see a lot of different faces tonight defensively. Matson's only played 5 minutes, but Olowokandi's 3 of 7 against Urban Johnson. He's 5 of 7. He has 25 points, 15 rebounds. The difference in the game, the Lakers are plus 16 points in the paint, 32-16.
You guys get the idea. Shaq has had 3 different seasons.
Yes, and it started at the All-Star break when he was the MVP. That jump started the end of the season and now the playoff mark.
Minnesota down by 6 points. Serbiak At first, he did not expect that pass. That's a pretty good recovery.
I'll tell you what, he may have some liabilities at the defensive end of the floor, but it's certainly nice to have a guy that you think every time he shoots it, it might be going in.
9 points for Serbiak, 7 of the 9 here in the fourth, and it's a 4-point game. 2:20 to play in this fourth quarter. Shot clock down to 5. Bryant, way off. Gathered in by Hoiberg.
Again, no Sam Cassell, no point guard. The Lakers just retreating. There's no pressure on the passers. They're running their offense, getting wide open shots right now.
But Sprewell not able to take advantage. Sam Cassell must be hurting.
Yes, I think it more so than we even know.
We're under 2 minutes to play in this fourth quarter. That's a travel. Shaquille O'Neal taking that pass on the move.
Because the return pass came too soon. He was too far out, too far away from the basket to put it on the floor and get it there with the dribble. As a result, he had to get his feet set, and the travel took place.
See, Garnett now is going to come to the backcourt, and what he's going to do, enter the offense, and then he'll go right into the post and try to post up on this play.
A minute 40 remaining in the fourth.
A little Utah Jazz option that he ran right there. Instead of going into the post, he faked and came over and set the pick and roll screen.
And a foul on Malone.
They're okay. They have fouls to give.
Let's go over to Sherrill.
Marv, out of the last time out around the 2-minute mark, Flip Saunders looked at Sam Cassell, kind of said, hey, can you go back in? And Sam Cassell said, no, I can't go in. And Doug, quick question to you. With the games being every other day, how much does that impact with Sam Cassell hurting the way he is?
Well, it's a big impact this year because they need him out on the floor right now to make shots, but this is the team he's going to go with.
Now to a minute 10 remaining in the fourth. Lakers with a 92-88 lead. Shot clock down to 5. Here is Fisher for 3. Derek Fisher again. The T-Wolves call for time. So Derek Fisher, the hero of Game 5 against San Antonio, has played a significant role here tonight. He's 4 of 5 from downtown. He has 14 points and a huge shot to give the Lakers a 7-point lead. Has the jacket on. He's getting ready. Road trip for the guys. They're on the set coming up inside the NBA, presented by Hyundai. Ernie, Kenny, Charles, and Magic on hand here at the Target Center, and they'll follow the T-Wolves and the Lakers.
You know, going in to this year, Derek Fisher was sort of the forgotten man. With all the hoopla of the signing of Gary Payton and Karl Malone, this guy has been such a critical part of all their championships. He's a big game player. He has toughness. They believe in him, and I still believe their best lineup on the perimeter is Fisher, Kobe Bryant, and Gary Payton, and you slide Kobe down to the 3. That's a potent, experienced lineup.
Down to 58 seconds remaining in this fourth quarter. Next foul for the Lakers puts them in the penalty. Hoiberg being played very tough by Fisher. Here is Garnett. Rebounded by O'Neal, and he is fouled. Timberwolves are over the limit, so Shaq will head back to the line where he has had the touch here tonight.
Going back to that big shot by Fisher, to me, a real encouraging sign for the Lakers is the fact that when that ball got in Payton's hands, he never hesitated 1 second on ball reversal. Payton could have tried to break the defense down himself off the dribble. Instead, he has gotten the message that this guy makes big shots in big games. Let me get the ball over to him. Swung it. Beautiful open shot, knocked down by Fisher.
Magnificent night for Shaquille O'Neal. 26 points, 17 rebounds, and he is 8 for 10 at the line. You see the comparison. Karl Malone, remember, missed his first 4 shots. Since then, he's 8 for 9.
Well, if Minnesota doesn't win that matchup in a knockout, they can't win the series. And Karl Malone, once again, has stepped up as he did against San Antonio in that series. And he's done a remarkable job tonight. And let's face it, Kevin Garnett, there's no way this guy could have had any energy. I'm not going to make any excuses, but Game 7 and all he went through in less than 48 hours. What a tough turnaround, Marv.
as Kevin Garnett played 46 minutes, leading his team to that emotional victory this past Wednesday night. 32 points, 21 rebounds, celebrating his 28th birthday in the Timberwolves' first ever Game 7 in the history of the franchise.
Well, this game is very reminiscent of last year. Remember all the knockouts the Minnesota's had in the first round. They finally get home court last year. 4th seed, and who gets the 5th seed? The Lakers. Kobe comes in, game 1, gets 39, takes away the home court. Tonight, the combination of Kobe, Shaq, Malone, and the timely shooting of Derek Fisher once again steals the home court here.
And game 2 will take place here in Minneapolis Sunday night. We'll have it for you on TNT starting at 8 o'clock Eastern time. We're down to 29 seconds to play in this 4th quarter, and the Timberwolves take a timeout. Kenny Smith, he's in the wrong seat. Ernie orchestrating. Coming up inside the NBA, presented by Hyundai. Ernie, Kenny, Charles, and Magic with post-game interviews and a look back at what has taken place here in game 1. And how about the pressure on the T-Wolves for game 2 on Sunday night?
Well, they can't lose on Sunday and go down 0-2. The question is going to be, how content are the Lakers going to be winning this game and taking the home court? You know, we talked to Phil before the game, and his biggest concern is when his team gets comfortable. Rick Fox said we're at our best when there's creative tension.
Creative tension. We have that here basically every week with the man to your right.
Doug, didn't Minnesota go through the same thing against Sacramento, where they put tremendous pressure on themselves by losing the first one and having to win that second one to get themselves back in the series?
Well, in that second game, they were down 10 with 4 minutes to go and made a rush to win that game, or they would have been down 0-2.
Well, a terrific performance by the Los Angeles Lakers. A road victory in game number 1 as they have defeated the Timberwolves 97 to 88. And if you believe in the percentages, there it is. Game 1 winner, best of 7. Takes the series nearly 80% of the time. So the Los Angeles Lakers, coming off the victory over the San Antonio Spurs after they lost the first 2 in San Antonio, then won 4 in a row, have now made it 5 straight victories in the postseason. While the Timberwolves, with the 1 day of rest off that dramatic win against Sacramento here on Wednesday, come up short. Shaquille O'Neal, 27 points, 18 rebounds, but I think what's in his mind, 9 of 11 from the foul line. Let's go to Craig with Shaq.
Well, Shaq, a spectacular game, 27 points, 17 rebounds, but 9 for 11 from the free throw line. I know you like to claim to be a math major, but you know what that percentage is?
81, something like that.
That's exactly right. Have you ever shot 81% in a playoff game before?
Yes, of course. We just wanted to come out, play hard. We know that they had a tough game 7, and we knew that they only had 1 day to get prepared. We had 5 or 6 days off, so we were well rested. And we just wanted to come up here and get 1 game. Now that we got the first one, we got another game on Sunday, and I think if we do the same things that we did today, then we can possibly get that game too.
Obviously a team effort. Derek Fisher hitting some great shots, Kobe doing his game. But what about the impact that Karl Malone had tonight on both ends of the court for you?
Karl played great. He hit some shots. He played good defense on the MVP. And today was a total team effort. Kobe did a good job of getting in the middle, kicking out the guys. The guys, they made them look good tonight.
All right, thanks a lot, Jack. Thank you, man.
All right, thanks, Craig. So Shaquille O'Neal leading the way with 27, Kobe Bryant at 23. Karl Malone hit 8 of his last 9 and finished with 17. And what a performance by Derek Fisher off the bench. In three-point land, he ended up by scoring 14 points, and he was 4 or 5 from downtown. Very quiet game for Kevin Garnett, just 16 points. Latrell Sprewell, the high man for the T-Wolves, with 23. Thanks to our producer, Scooter Bertino, our director, Renato Lowe, and our statistician, Paul Evans. Again, the final score, the Lakers 97 and the T-Wolves 88 in Game 1 of this Western Conference Final Series. We'll be with you again on Sunday night right here on TNT for Game 2 between the Lakers and the Wolves, starting 8 o'clock Eastern Time. For the Czar, Mike Fratello, for Doug Collins, Craig Sager, Cheryl Miller, and our entire staff, this is Marv Albert saying good night from the Target Center. You've been watching the 2004 NBA playoffs on TNT. Coming up next, it is Inside the NBA.